How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews, back with a little bit of aged beer up in this piece in the form of Birds Fly South. It's their Rustic Sunday. Yeah, this be a blended rye farmhouse ale. Do they talk about this on here? Yes, they do. It says rye forward farmhouse ale, dry hopped heavily with Hallertau Blanc. These hops combine with their house yeast culture to provide aromas of grape skins and white wine. The spicy flavors of the yeast also tangle with the rye to create a crispy and refreshing 7% saison. These guys are out of Greenville, South Carolina. And this be old. This be, what I assume, is 218 old. It looks like a hand-dated bottle. So you're talking about 218. This is 1121. So you do the math. You're talking about 3.5 years old. On a rye, 7% rye saison, I say, huzzah. We should be okay on this. At least I hope you are. It cost me $8. Ooh. That grape skin thing they're talking about is for reals on this thing, man. I can smell it from a mile away. I'm kind of curious as that translates. Just blowing off in that original or initial kind of uncapping, but I'm really curious to see how this comes off now. Tastes anything like it smells from a distance. I'm a fan. Label-wise, it's actually pretty cool. I think this is the second Birds Fly South beer that I've ever reviewed. I dig their art design. I love the name of the brewery, too. Something about Birds Fly South. I dig that. Beer-wise, I mean, it looks all the part of a farmhouse mixed culture, mixed fermentation beer. You know, just under index finger, a barely off-weight head. Pretty rocky stuff with some uniform bubbles towards the bottom, and just a soft, kind of unfiltered kind of haziness to it. This not super turbid haziness, but what you'd expect from a nice kind of farmhousey kind of mixed cultured beer as far as coloration goes. Let's get a nose. I mean, the level of a combination of that grapiness that they talked about in here, this white grape skinniness, and this peachiness. There's a big stone fruit in this too, so it's a combination of peach and white skin to be perfectly on, or white grape skinniness. It's kind of my perfect nose when it comes to a lot of these kind of saisons. I'm not getting a big hop component. Talking about 3.5 years old, kind of makes sense. I'm not getting a big rye spiciness, at least on the nose. There's something to the malt, but it doesn't come off rye. It comes off a little bit rich, a little bit sweet. I think it's going to be a tart, one of those pH balance beers, you know, the ones they talk about that kind of just are the same pH balance as your body, so it kind of drinks that way. I'm hoping it's that, but actually just from smelling it, I kind of think it's going to lean that way. I really hope that stone fruit and those white grapes really come through in the taste. There's only one way to find out. Let's dive in. Cheers. That's delicious. That's delicious. That's really good. You can tell there's rye in there. They talk about this kind of combination, this kind of mixture of this hopping, this Hallertau Blanc, in combination with the rye, kind of spicing, mixing up. I think the whole bittering portion of the show, the hops are pretty much dead and gone. There's a little bit of Ghost of Hops Past. But what's left there is that little bit of kind of grape skinny thing that I got on the nose, got on the taste. That's still there. In combination with that kind of peachiness, that stone fruitiness I think they get from their house culture. And that little bit of spicy rye. Not aggressive. Not aggressive by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still there. It's a cool, this beer is transformed into something pretty cool. I think it would have been really tasty with the hop presence being there. I could see it be a little bit of, a little punchier, a little bit more, like they talked about it, crispy, a little bit more refreshing, as I believe what they said. This, with the kind of omission of that hop presence in here, makes this a little bit more kind of wine-like. I mean, sure, no shit, Sherlock, when leaning into the grape thing here, kind of makes sense. But there's something about it that just comes off like a wine as far as mouthfeel and as far as drinkability. Sure, it's carbonated. It's not just a still kind of thing. There's something about it. I keep leaning into it. So it's more that wine pH balancing, which is very close. It's not super on point human body pH balance, but it's very, very close. And then when you add that combination of that rye spiciness, which isn't aggressive, but for this, the way this beer is showing on that fruity kind of sweet tip, and then had that little bit of spiciness that goes a long way. That's really tasty. Honestly. You know, I just, I cooked. I cook a lot, and I cooked tonight. Something crazy. I made meatloaf. Listen, I am the world's champion meatloaf maker. Don't poop on the meatloaves. I'm not going to say this is a perfect accompaniment for meatloaf, but after cooking, and I kind of wanted a beer. I wanted a foodie beer, even though I'm not going to drink it with my food. I just want something farmhousey. I wanted something mixed culture, and this is really hitting the spot. I didn't think it was going to be this fun. Being the age that it is, green bottle, I thought it might strike a little bit more funky, a little bit more kind of skunky. Honestly, it's just coming off as a pretty beer. And I think that's a perfect way to put it, is pretty beer. You know, 3.5 years on this. I don't think it's made this a markedly better beer. Probably quite a bit different than what it was when it was originally released, but I don't think it's gotten worse. I think it's kind of transformed and ebb and flowed into something a bit different. It's just letting those kind of fruit portions show, that grape and that stone fruit kind of really show with that little spicy wryness in a very fun way. I dig this. For $7.99. Honestly, I think that's kind of a killer steal on this kind of beer. And the place I got this from has a bunch of them, so I'm going to have to go back and buy more. Let's talk about it. It's one of the better just mixed culture beers that I've had as late. It's in the conversation. It's not king shit of fuck mountain. It's not going to be Mount Rushmore status, but it's damn tasty. And for its age, I'm quite impressed. Value and availability, like I said, availability is going to be, your mileage may vary depending on where you live. But for me, I can buy it off a shelf still and pay $8 for it. And honestly, at that price point, I have no issues whatsoever. And leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like your mixed culture farmhouse beers to be more kind of sweet and very lightly tart, non-acidic, and you want them to be fruity, but in a, I would say more of a yeasty kind of fruitiness as opposed to a hoppiness. I think that Hallertau Blanc actually brings a decent amount of fruitiness that still resonates in this beer, but I think a lot of it is derived from the house culture. So if you like your peachiness, you like your white wine grapiness, and you like mixed culture stuff, this is going to be something quite tasty, I think, even if it is older. I don't know if this is a rotational thing, something they make quite often, but it'd be really cool to do a fresh one versus an old one. If they still make it, maybe I'll try to do that. So there you go. Review in the books. Let me know if you've had this down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out in the social media stuff. Beer Massif, podcasting stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Birds Fly South. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.